Hello, everybody. This is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Part 5, Chapter 17. The provincial inn where Nikolai Levin was dying was one of those establishments of recent constructions pretending to offer neatness, comfort, and even elegance to a public little accustomed to these modern refinements. But the same public had caused it to degenerate into an ill-kept grog shop. Everything about it produced an unpleasant effect on Levin's mind. The soldier in dirty uniform, who served as Swiss and was smoking a cigarette in a vestibule, melancholy dark cast-iron staircase. The lazy waiter in the black coat covered with grease spots. The common dining table decorated with a frightful bouquet of wax flowers gray with dust. The general condition of disorder and discomfort. Even the abundant liveliness which seemed to him entirely in keeping with the spirit introduced by the new railroad. The whole establishment was an absolute contrast to their recent happiness, and it gave them the most painful impression when they thought of what was waiting for them. They found that the best rooms were taken, one by the supervisor of the railroad, another by a Muscovite lawyer, the third by Princess Ostavieva from the country. One disorderly bedroom was left for them, with the promise of another when evening came. Levin took his wife to it, vexed to find his prognostication so speedily realized, and impatient because he was obliged to get settled instead of hurrying to his brother. "Go, go," said Kitty, with a melancholy look of contrition. He left her without saying a word, and just outside the door he ran against Marya Nikolaevna, who had just heard of his arrival. She had not changed since he saw her in Moscow. She wore the same woolen dress without collar or cuffs, and her pock-marked face expressed the same unfailing good nature. "No, how is he?" "Very bad. He doesn't sit up, and he's all the time asking for you. You. She. Is your wife with you?" Levin at first did not see why she seemed confused, but she immediately explained herself. "I'm going to the kitchen. He'll be glad. He remembers seeing her abroad." Levin perceived that she meant his wife, but didn't know what to say. "Come," said he, "come." But they had not gone a step before the chamber door opened and Kitty appeared. Levin grew red with vexation to see his wife in such a predicament, but Marya Nikolaevna was still more confused, and crouching back against the wall ready to cry. She caught the ends of her apron and wound it round her red hands, not knowing what to say or do. Levin saw the expression of lively curiosity in the look with which Kitty regarded the creature, so incomprehensible and almost terrible to her. It lasted but a moment. "Now, what is this? How is she?" she asked, turning to her husband and then to the woman. "Da, we cannot stay to talk in the corridor," replied Levin, looking angrily at his wife, who, with quick steps, had now come out into the hallway. "No, come into the room, then," said Kitty, addressing Marya Nikolaevna, who was beginning to beat a retreat. Then, seeing her husband's horror-stricken face, she added as she turned back to the room, "Or rather, go and send after me." Levin hastened to his brother. He expected to find him in that state of illusion so common to consumptives, and which had struck him during his visit. He expected to see him looking still more emaciated and feeble than before, with indications of approaching death. He expected that he should be moved with pity for his well-beloved brother, and should feel again, even stronger than before, the terrors which the thought of his death had caused for him. He was quite prepared for all this, but what he saw was absolutely different. In a little, close, dingy, ill-smelling room, the walls of which were marked by the bad usage of many travelers, separated by a thin partition from another room, where conversations were going on, he saw lying on a wretched bed a body lightly covered with a counterpane. Stretched out upon it was a hand huge as a rake, and holding in a strange way by the end a sort of long and slender bobbin. The head, resting on a pillow, showed the thin hair glued to his temples and almost transparent brow. "Can it be that this horrible body is my brother Nikolai?" thought Levin. But as he came near, the doubt ceased. It was enough to glance at the lively eyes turned towards him as he entered, or the motions of his mouth under the long mustache, to recognize the frightful truth that this corpse indeed was his brother. Nikolai looked at his brother with a stern and angry face. His look seemed to bring lively relations between living beings. Constantine felt in it a reproach for his own health and a regret. He took his brother's hand. Nikolai smiled, but the smile was so slight and feeble that it didn't change the expression of his eyes. "You didn't expect to find me so," he succeeded in saying. "Yes. No," replied Levin with confusion. "Why didn't you let me know before my marriage? I had a regular search to find you." He wanted to keep on speaking so as to avoid a painful silence, but he didn't know what to say, the more as his brother looked at him without replying and seemed to be weighing each one of his words. Finally, he told him that his wife had come with him, and Nikolai appeared delighted, adding, however, that he was afraid he should frighten her. A silence followed. Suddenly, Nikolai began to speak, and Levin felt by the expression of his face that he had something of importance to tell him, but he spoke only of his health. He blamed his doctor, and regretted that he could not have consulted a celebrity in Moscow. Levin perceived that he was still hopeful. After a moment, Levin got up with the pretext that he was going to get his wife, but in reality to tear himself away, for a little while at least, from the cruel impressions. "No good, I'll have things put in order here. It's dirty here and smells bad. I guess Masha attended to things," said the sick man with effort. "Da, and when you have put things to rights, go away," he added, looking at his brother questioningly. Levin went out without replying, but he had scarcely reached the corridor when he began to repent of having promised to bring his wife. Think of what he himself had suffered. He made up his mind to persuade him that this visit was unnecessary. "Why torment her as I am tormented?" he asked himself. "No, how is it?" asked Kitty with frightened face. "Ach, it's horrible, horrible. Why did you come?" Kitty looked at her husband for an instant without speaking. Then going to him, she put both arms on his arm. She said timidly, "Kostya, take me to him. It will be easier for both of us. Take me and leave me with him. Can't you see that it's more cruel to me than anything else to witness your grief and not see the cause of it? Perhaps I shall be useful to him and to you also. I beg of you, let me go." She besought him as though it were for the happiness of her life, and Levin was obliged to let her go with him. In his haste, he completely forgot all about Marya Nikolaevna. Kitty, walking lightly and showing her husband a courageous and affectionate face, stepped quietly into the room and shut the door noiselessly. She went with light, quick steps up to the bed and sat down so as not to make the sick man turn his head, and with her fresh, soft hands she took the dying man's enormous hand, and, employing that tact peculiar to women of showing sympathy without wounding, she began to speak to him with a gentle cheerfulness. "We saw each other at Soden without becoming acquainted. You didn't think then that I was ever to become your sister. You would not have known me, would you?" he said. His face was lighted up with a smile when he saw her come in. "Oh, yes, indeed. How glad I am that you sent for us. Not a day has passed without Kostya speaking of you. He's been very anxious because he did not hear from you." The sick man's animation lasted only a short time. Kitty had not finished speaking before that expression of severe reproach towards one who is in good health came back to his face. "I'm afraid that you're not very comfortable here," continued the young woman, avoiding the look which he gave her and examining the room. "We must ask for another room and be nearer to him," she said to her husband.